Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. This is Inside the Program featuring Eric Nalin. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. We know you're here. If you're here, you're a junkie. You're ready for SEC championship, and you're ready to hear more about some potential positive recruiting news. On today's show, we'll go over a respect all, fear none mentality for the Longhorns, how there's nowhere to go but up on offense, the defense facing an improved Carson Beck, an update on Kelvin Banks and other insider notes. And of course, we'll talk about the big 5-star plus Justice Terry making his decision later this morning. But we'll start with the game and how the Longhorns are about to face a Georgia team that, after defeating Texas in Austin 30-15, made their way with one more blemish against Ole Miss, but made their way to the SEC championship. Texas wasn't really looking for revenge, but they're going to have an opportunity to make up for their one loss suffered in the regular season, Eric.
I don't care what they say publicly. They wanted this game. They want a rematch. And why would you want a rematch? I mean, whatever you call it, rematch, revenge, whatever. This is the game they wanted. They feel like this is the biggest test for them. Obviously it's the one time that they I wouldn't say they were dominated. It's the one time they didn't have game control. There were times that first contest was pretty even. Pretty much in every other game this season, for long stretches of each game, they've had game control. And this was the one time they didn't have it. So maybe revenge isn't the right term, but they wanted that game for sure. They have a ton of respect for Georgia. Steve Sarkisian has mentioned numerous times behind the scenes, that's a team with a lot of heart. They've got to match it, play with the same intensity. They've got to execute better than the first game. But at the same time, they feel like, they left a lot of points on the board. They left a lot of opportunity on the board. So while they have a lot of respect for Georgia, and again, Starks mentioned they have a lot of heart, they got to rip the heart out and go get this win.
It's what the Gladiators do. On offense, everybody's going to remember being sloppy with possession of the football, not really making very many penetrations into Georgia territory, relying on, some short fields to get there. And Quinn Ewers not really keeping possession, and Arch Manning. It was a tough night for everybody on the Texas offense, and they understand, it sounds like, that nowhere to go but up. They can put together a better performance than they did in October.
Yeah, it seems like on this side of the ball, Sark is building them up a little bit. He's saying, look, we're a lot better than they were than that during that period. Quinn's playing a lot better. The run game has improved. They only rushed for like 29 yards, I think, in that first game. The run game is coming on. The right side of the offensive line is coming on. So Sark has said, look, we got nowhere to go but up on offense. Georgia did a lot of things on defense that really showed how much respect Kirby Smart had for what they're doing. So Sark said, look, Kirby Smart respects you so much that they started bringing zero blitzes. They got away from their traditional quarters cover that they'd run against pretty much everybody. Sark says when a coach like Kirby Smart is changing things up, despite what he does working against everybody for so long, it shows a lot of respect. So I think Sark's really trying to build up the offense. But at the same time, we've all seen it, the offensive improvement throughout November. Maybe a couple untimely turnovers, but again, they're exerting game control on the offense, not just defense, in large part because of the run game. So I would say the confidence is way up on the offense. Not that they're going to go out and play a great, perfect game, but certainly much better than they played the first time.
I think you and I kind of see portions of coach Twitter and scheme Twitter. And whenever you see some of the major accounts talking about, like, whoa, Kirby Smart's doing this, that, it's not because he's just doing like playing 2-4-5 and, like you said, running quarters. It's because he's moving guys all over, shifting and stunting, bringing blitzes from weird angles. And like you said, that means that they felt they needed to pull that out of the bag.
Right.
You talked about the run game, the right side of the run game, and specifically the outside zone scheme that Sark has emphasized a lot over the past week. Texas ran at a Texas A&M front, thought to be pretty darn good. Is this going to be another instance where Texas really tries to control the game with running the football and improve upon 29 yards on 27 carries or whatever the total was?
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see how the run game comes about. Running sideline, horizontal, outside zone against these guys is pretty tough because they're so fast. And they got Shmuel Mondin back, who missed the first game. So that's going to be tough. I think they just need to play assignment sound, keep it simplified on the offense in the run game. I think simplification is why the run game is taken off in the last few weeks. They're not running nearly as many things as they once were. Everybody's a lot more confident in their duties. Now, again, I'm not saying that they're going to run for 180 yards. They ran for 240 yards against A&M, right? I don't think we're going to see anything like that. But they have a lot more tricks up their sleeve to run the ball this game than they did previously, and that's not getting away from them being simplified. If they need to introduce an extra runner or something, they're more qualified to do that now than in the first game.
Let's move on to the defense. And Texas knows, everybody knows that Carson Beck did not have a good game in Austin. Several turnovers via Jade Barron, via Andrew Makuba, and maybe could have had a couple more. He's played a lot better down the stretch. Granted, his last two games are against UMass and Georgia Tech, but he had to pass the Bulldogs back into that game. Our Justin Nash Talks Texas kind of broke down the 2 seasons that Carson Beck has had. What
Mm-hmm.
is the defense really emphasizing as they go to face a Georgia offense that's very much pass heavy compared to its run centric history?
They went into that last game preparing like they're getting ready to face the number 1 overall draft pick. And Carson Beck certainly has some of those physical tools, but he's not that same quarterback. And despite his second half of the season being a lot different than the first half, they feel like that's just due to nobody getting pressure on him. They figure once they get back to getting pressure on him, he'll go back to Santa Claus and gifting the defense. So that's the key to the defense, I think, is getting pressure on him, and then also keeping an eye on the tight ends. It was that Texas game that they really started utilizing the tight ends. When you were watching Georgia before that, and you're looking at their tight end production, it was alarming. Like, what are they doing? They've got 3 talented tight ends, but they're barely involved in the offensive scheme. Against Texas, they started increasing that, and since then, it's kind of been a major part of their resurgence on offense, a big part of their offensive identity. So that's something that the Texas defense is going to have to be cognizant of. It's a fantastic game to have a very experienced and talented secondary, right? And you got 2 experienced and talented safeties that are going to have to keep an eye on those tight ends. But just as Sark was saying, building up the offense, I'm not saying he was tearing down the defense, but he said, look, Georgia gave us some breaks in that last game that we're not going to get again. They had some drops, some tip balls. We're going to have to make our luck a little bit better than we did the last time. Georgia helped us out just as Texas's offense helped them out. So they got to play a cleaner game, but there's a lot of confidence on it. Georgia's introduced some other wrinkles, more 2-back sets and stuff like that. We'll see how Texas can counter to that. I do believe that Trevor Etienne is going to be out, and if that's the case, he was the best player on the field on the offensive side of the ball for Georgia. That's a pretty big loss for them.
Yeah, 18 of those 30 points were because of him, and the other 12 were the result of the
back-breaking
kicker.
drive.
So,
yeah,
exactly. Took advantage of those short fields. Before we get into Kelvin Banks and a little bit of recruiting, got to show some love to our sponsor, and that is Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
Thank you, LC. Thank you to Andre the Lawyer. Let's go into one of the big injury updates that everybody's waiting on. Kelvin Banks has been listed as questionable over the course of the past Wednesday and Thursday availability reports. Trevor Gooseby obviously stepped in and had a great game against Texas A&M and Nick Scourton and the Shamars, but Georgia's got some talent too. What's the latest with Banks as number 78 tries to make sure he avoids missing the first start of his career?
Yeah, pretty unfortunate, huh? I mean, look at how far is what was his second career game was against Alabama, I think, and then now here he is in the SEC championship game, just a fantastic career. I think one of the observations we made early on in this new era for Texas football, where you have to disclose injuries, is that when Sark lists you at probable, you're going to go, and when Sark lists you at questionable, you better get Trevor Gooseby ready. I'm not expecting to see Banks. I know he's a game time decision, so you never know. And it is such a big game. I mean, this is it's probably the second biggest game of his career. Last year's playoff game was a little bit bigger, had more implications than this one. But I think we're going to have to see Gooseby going up against a really talented player across from him against Georgia. But last week's performance and just his overall work ethic, upside, future talent, like that guy's going to get drafted. I don't know what round. I need to see more of him, but he's going to get drafted in the first 3-4 rounds at minimum. I think he'll play well.
One of the things that kind of sold me on Gooseby was the first thing I covered him for was him at the state track meet for shot put. And,
Yeah.
6'7", what was he, 275, 280? He wasn't hefty, but he was still big, and he was showing off that explosive movement.
Yeah,
He
it's,
was an athlete there.
that
And
was one we were on the board with a lot of us that really dive into evaluation and watching huddles and talking together. There's a small little community inside Texas that's all about evaluating, and everybody was going gaga over that guy because he had the basketball feet, the explosion in the ring in track and field, and then the frames. Like, man, there's a whole lot of stuff here that you don't find in many places.
what are some of the, Texas is going to be basically playing a road game, even though it is
Mhm.
at a neutral site in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Athens to Atlanta is a real short, quick drive. Going to be a lot of Georgia fans there. Longhorn fans should travel. Bevo's not traveling, but Texas is the number one seed, and they decided to kind of do something that brings about that road mentality before they head into the SEC title.
Yeah, I think it was in at Kyle Field actually where Sark, realized they were going to be the home team this week against Georgia and put it to the players, which what uniforms do you want to wear? And it's funny because somebody asked Drew Kelson on a live not too long ago which he preferred. Like, man, in 2005 we just wanted to go out and ball. It was pretty unanimous that these guys wanted to wear the icy whites. That gets them a little fired up. They're treating it like a road game. But the fans that do go with no Bevo, you guys make sure to be loud and pack your water bottles.
One more update coming from Georgia. It's a recruiting update. Manchester's a little out of the way compared to where Atlanta is, but it's not far. And in Manchester, Georgia, lives Justice Terry. I think he's the On3 industry rankings -- 9 overall prospect, a 5-star defensive tackle. And later this morning, maybe even a couple hours, he will make his decision. He was once a USC commit. I think he committed there without even visiting.
No, it was he was committed to Georgia for a while, and then he went on the USC visit, and then him and another 5-star from Georgia went. Was it Isaiah Gibson, I think, and shocked everybody. Just gave us an idea of how crazy the cycle was going to be, and decommitted. And then that was in, I think, that was in March.
June.
Well,
Oh,
no,
well,
in May he went to. So that was March, and then in May he went to his official visit for Georgia, and then decommitted, and then he recommitted, or no, then he. Oh, now we're getting all even more confused. That's how it is. Recruiting in this day and age is that confusing. He did take a official visit to Alabama. He took an official visit to Texas October 19th or 18th and 20th for the Georgia game, and then his most recent visit was 23rd through 25th of November for Auburn. So that's pretty much the participants in this one. Really, it's a 2-horse race. At least I think so. My sources think it's Texas versus Georgia. I think they say that, and Auburn's still in it. I think Texas just doesn't see any way that they would be behind Auburn. So I think that's why they consider it a 2-horse race. Surely Auburn's still trying. But this is one of those recruitments you have to take with a grain of salt. I would not get excited until I heard about anything signed. He's a Georgia kid, 5-star. They need defensive tackles despite having another 5-star defensive tackle from Georgia committed. Texas desperately needs defensive tackles. There is optimism on the Texas side. They do feel like they're credibly in it. As of 9:15 this morning, I had a text with somebody 10 minutes before we came on air. So it's a real life recruitment. That doesn't mean Texas is going to get them. I would pick Georgia just to manage expectations. But Inside Texas believes enough in this recruitment and Texas's pursuit that we'll have content ready in case he does pick Texas. And we don't do that if we don't think Texas is at least in it. And so we'll see how the chips fall. I could say that Texas is all in. They're being extremely aggressive. They know the need within the roster. They're happy to hold on to Charles and Sharma. That was big, but numbers are a little bit short, and Terry would give that room a giant jolt.
Kenny Baker looking to grab someone from his neck of the woods. I looked it up. Manchester and Cartersville, where Baker is listed as being from, just about 2 hours away. So right there. And the funny thing is this recruit may end up determining who actually signs the number 1 class in the country as well. So a good amount at stake. We'll have, like Eric said, if it goes Texas' way, we'll have plenty of coverage. We'll also have coverage on this channel. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. And of course, head to InsideTexas.com where you can get all our team notes. This is just a little bit of a snippet of it from Eric. You can get 1 week of action just for $1. Hey, SEC championships tomorrow. Portal opens up Monday. Texas will have an opponent to prepare for. Who knows how early that game will be, but we're hoping that it's one that's maybe on New Year's Eve and not just before Christmas. So, Eric, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.